Do you ever feel like time is just racing by? Like Monday turns into Friday in the blink of an eye, and yet your to do list is just chilling there with almost everything on it, looking at you, judging, like, what happened? I want to share with you something that has completely changed my relationship with time. It's free, it's easy. You don't have to quit your job, you don't have to move to Bali, and you don't have to meditate on a mountaintop for 24 hours. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I don't feel as rushed or pressed by time. It actually feels like I found a way to stretch the day. And I know what you're thinking, but you don't know my life, and I hardly have time to breathe. I get it. I've been there. But here's the thing. We all have the same 24 hours. The difference isn't the hours, it's how we experience them. And here's the thing with time. Time is not the numbers on the clock. It's our perception of it. And we've all witnessed that before. For example, when we're spending time with friends, it can just go by so quick, like a snap of a finger. But if you're holding a plank or the dentist says, that'll just be a minute, well, that minute feels like an eternity. And one of the problems right now is that we're more and more aware of time than ever before in society. If you think about it, there's a watch on our wrist, there's a clock on the phone, there's a clock on the oven, a clock on the microwave, a clock in the street. They're just everywhere. And before modern clocks, people just did things until they were done. And if you think back on when you were a kid, time felt longer, right? And that's because we weren't looking at our watches all the time. We would go out to play until somebody told us to come back in and set the table. We would do our homework until somebody told us it was time to bed. We weren't the ones managing our schedule, looking at the watch, making sure we were on time. And I get that you're probably saying that's fine and dandy for a kid, but somebody has to be in charge of the schedule. Somebody has to get people to appointments on time. And that's true. But also, we can change our perception of time. The first time I read about this concept, the fact that we are in charge of our perception of time, was when I read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He talks about something called Einstein Time, where basically you see yourself as the source of time and not the victim of time. He talks about reframing things. So instead of saying, I don't have time for this, you say, I don't choose to make time for this. And in a way, if you just decide that you have more time, you can have more time. And I remember thinking when I read this, like, that's a great idea. I love it. It's like telling somebody, all you have to do is manifest $1,000. But how do you do that on a practical level? And for me, the shift happened actually by accident. It's when I started to meditate. And before you swipe away, don't worry, this whole video is not about meditation, but I will take a little bit of time to explain what happens when you start meditating. When you meditate, you're in the present moment. There's no past and there's no future. And the present moment, well, it's infinite. I started meditating for anxiety for 10 minutes a day. And the interesting thing is that even if I was just meditating 10 minutes a day, that kind of being in the present moment would follow me. I would find myself feeling more present throughout the day. I would notice things. I would notice the birds in the trees, or the sound of an air conditioner, or just the way the light was hitting a building. After about a month, things felt roomier. Things felt like they had more time. And I realized that my perception of time had changed and that was a byproduct of meditation. And here's where things get sneaky. We're always complaining that we don't have enough time. But as soon as we get stuck in a traffic jam or standing in the grocery line, we whip out our phones to listen to a podcast or listen to some music to get through that moment. We think that we're saving ourselves from boredom, but we're actually robbing ourselves of presence. Because if we train our brains to run away when we're bored, it's going to run away also when we're doing something fun. And Jay Shetty talks about this in Think Like a Monk. And he says that if we train our brains to escape when we're at work, like for example, we're dreaming about a vacation we want to take. Well, when we actually get to that vacation, our brain is trained to think about being somewhere else. So it's going to escape even when you're in the nice places. So how can we train ourselves to be more present, to be here now? Well, as I mentioned, meditation is a great way. But I also understand that meditation is hard and it's sometimes difficult to get into it. So here are some other things that you can do to start being more present. 1, take the clocks out of sight. When our brain isn't tracking minutes, it's actually able to relax into the moment. And I get that we all want to be organized and that we have places to be and things to do. But if you can do it every once in a while, just take the clocks away, it really changes a lot. For example, if you're practicing piano, don't put an alarm on. Just sit there and play until you don't want to anymore. I know you're probably going to think, yeah, but what if I go over an hour? That's probably not going to happen. And even if it does, it means that you will have been in that moment, really appreciating the piano instead of just thinking, oh, this is something I have to do for an hour. I noticed how putting clocks away really helps when I go camping, for example, and I put my phone away. And all of a sudden, the day just stretches. I eat when I want to, I go swimming when I want to. I don't feel like I'm following a schedule. And all of a sudden, the day seems huge. And sure, you might say, yeah, but you're on vacation. But the opposite can be true if you're thinking about time. You know, when you get to your holiday place and already it's Tuesday and you're like, oh my gosh, it's already Friday. When you're thinking about time, time accelerates. So get those clocks out of the way. 2, remove background noise. Try something that you usually do to escape. Like, for example, on your drive to work, or on your walk to work, or when you're grocery shopping, or when you're doing laundry, or something like that, and you usually put a podcast on or music. Try it without, and you're going to see how long it feels. It might even feel uncomfortable and boring. But after a while, you're going to start realizing just how much time you have. And no, expanding time is not just about expanding the boring parts, but it's by living and training yourself to be in the boring parts that you're actually going to be able to enjoy the fun parts better. 3, give it time. And no, this is not a joke or a play on words. But like anything, when you start something, it takes time. And as I said, I didn't start feeling the benefits of meditation until after a month. So give yourself that space to experiment, to be present, to really start doing the exercises. And I get it, it's a huge investment. Doing something like this for a whole month, it's not just like a pill that you can take and have it happen miraculously. But again, you can actually start practicing these things while you're doing other things. It's not going to take time out of your day. It's just how you spend your day. And if you can meditate, I really do recommend it. And I know it can sound counterproductive. You have to take 10 minutes out of your day, but you will gain so much more. It's like that funny Zen story where this guy goes to a monk and asks him, how long should I meditate for? And the monk tells him, you should meditate an hour. And the guy's like, wait, what? I don't have time for that. I can't meditate an hour. And the monk tells him, then you should meditate too. And that's how I feel about that, about meditation, but also these acts of presence. The more you do it and the more time you take to do it, the more you're actually going to get from it. And for the 4th tip, as always, is going to be a tarot tip. Let's see what the cards have to say. Ooh, the Ace of Cups, fun. This card is all about new beginnings and fresh opportunities. And in a way, I find that this is just a really good sign because since cups have to do with relationships, I feel like this is just a good way of saying you can have a new relationship with your perception of time. And on a practical level, this card is also giving great insights because, as I said, this card is all about new beginnings and fresh opportunities. To me, I find that this card is saying interrupt your autopilot. Do something different. Add some novelty to your day. For example, take a different route to work or go grocery shopping at a different store or go to the bathroom in the other stall than you usually do. Because when we step out of autopilot and stop running the same routines over and over, we start to notice things more. It helps us be in the present. It helps us be here now. Novelty helps your brain pay attention to really be in the moment. And as we said, that is what's going to help stretch time. I also think there's one last message of this card, and that's because cups have to do with relationships. And so to me, this is also a reminder to put our phones down and actually be present with whoever we are. And if we're alone, just to look out the window and breathe, be there. Because again, sometimes we pick up our phone thinking we're just going to look at something for 5 minutes, but all of a sudden we've spent 20. And those are precious minutes that we're not doing something nourishing with. So put your phone down and start looking out the window and being in the world you are. So on that, I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of laughter as you learn to expand your day by being present. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.